D-Day is here for the WNBA and the WNBA Players Association, as today is March 10th. And if an agreement, at least in a handshake, is not done today, according to the WNBA, then this season will be delayed. And how long will that be? Remains to be seen. But as of right now, an agreement between the Players Association and the WNBA has not been made. Let's talk about this and what it means for the season, for the players, for the ownership, and everyone in between. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I am your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, follow us on our Instagram, Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, as we are growing that platform. A lot of college basketball stuff being popped up there right now as we are hitting March Madness. We are a week. Sunday will be the day where they decide who makes the NCAA tournament. I mean, we all know pretty much who's in it. That matters. We all have our opinions probably on who is in the Final Four or make the Final Four. But here we are. We are talking about the WNBA CBA agreement or lack thereof, and article dropped by ESPN and actually USA Today. There was a final submission of a proposal or counter proposal from the WNBA to the WNBPA. Not real information as to what if anything changed in that final proposal that was sent, but they needed to have a term sheet by today to avoid a delay in the season. And question now remains: will there be a 2026 season? Will the players go on strike, which they have said they might do, but we all know probably won't do? Will I mean, obviously now we hit the real term of a lockout, because even if they're not locked out, you can't start the season if you can't get the business of the league done, such as expansion drafts, free agency, WNBA draft, training camp. They cannot do any of these things without an agreement in place. Now, last week, Kelsey Plum said the league's offer marked a significant win for the players. We all knew that was lip service. The players sent out a survey to their membership asking if they're comfortable with the strike, but not really if they're then it's so vague as to what the questions truly were. And then even after that, there was a letter of whatever you want to call it, but one of concern of the executive director of the WNBA not communicating with the players and the membership, despite the fact that, according to the executive board, well, they talked to her all the time prior to, but now they don't talk to her, didn't talk to her, or she wasn't conveying information. She was not representing them with their best interest in mind. A lot of messy stuff. And that was back on March 3rd when Kelsey Plum and Brianna Stewart raised serious concerns about the union's handling of CBA negotiations, citing a lack of player involvement, albeit Brianna Stewart never had a problem talking. Visa Collier never had a problem talking. Alicia Clark never had a problem talking. Kelsey Plum never had a problem talking. None of these players in the executive board ever had a problem talking. But yet they were talking while claiming they had no knowledge of what was really going on. Yeah. Very, very back and forth. Now, where we are right now is the WNBPA's requested 25% of gross revenue in the first year, increasing over the life to an average of roughly 26%. And the WNBA is currently offering more than 70% of league and team net revenue, which is after expenses, as we all know, and estimated to be about 15% of gross revenue. Cap would jump to almost $6 million, 5.75, whereas the ownership, the players want $9.5 million. Will the players go on strike? Remains to be seen. You have a situation now where you have a number of players currently in Puerto Rico ready to play tomorrow in international play. That includes the likes of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Paige Beckers, Kiki Irfin, etc., etc. And then you have Brianna Stewart, who's going over to Europe to play in some league over there. And they claim that they would like to have a sit down. So please, what exactly do you want? Why in the world have you not had when the WNBA gave a deadline of March 10th? Why has there not been a sit down meeting with the players and the Players Association, the Players Association and the ownership in the past week? Did the players think this was a joke? Because the owners right now are in a position of, if we don't play, we can't lose money. Well, they lose money. They sit here and say the owners don't want to have a season. That's nonsense. I think people overdo it with that. They want to have a season, but they want to have a season under their terms. They want to have a season under the terms that make them feel comfortable. To sit here and say they don't want to have a season, to sit there and say they don't lose money if they don't play, well, that's inaccurate, because they'd have to give out refunds on tickets and they have to reschedule, and there's all kinds of mess that goes on for ownership of a team. They will lose money. They will have issues. They will have problems. There are things that have to be dealt with. There are people that still got to get paid. And and these refunds come in a variety of ways, whether it's sponsorship money that comes into their particular franchise, or ticket sales. They don't get merch sales when there's no games at those games. They don't get concession sales when there are no games. So games that get canceled cost them money. However, that loss is far less, more than likely, than the loss of having a bad CBA for them. So they're willing to take that loss over the bigger loss of signing a bad CBA and giving the players giving the players what would be a great deal for the players, but a bad deal for the ownership. Now, Caitlin Clark is currently at USA Basketball training camp, and she said the two sides should stop sending proposals and instead meet face to face until a deal gets done. Well, that sounds great, and I agree with her. I want to know why that hasn't happened. I want to know why they have not done that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have not done that. But she says, I don't understand why we don't just get in a room and iron it out and shake hands. She said, that's how business is. You look each other in the eye, you shake hands, you respect both sides. For me, that's what I would love to see. I agree. It makes sense. Why did they not do that dating back to the end of the WNBA season? Why did they not do that in October? Why did the players, the executive board members, not do that back in October, November, December, back when none of them were playing in another league? Why would they? Did they think that the WNBA ownership was just going to say, hey, here you go? It doesn't. Like, this is an example of completely overplaying a hand. Like, your poker hand has been called on the bluff, and now you're scrambling. And you have players that are currently in Puerto Rico. You have other players that are playing overseas. You have, at least Nafisa Collier isn't doing something. Maybe she got some time. Maybe Nneka Ogwumike's got some time to do their jobs as board members. Maybe Alicia Clark has some time. But why have they not demanded, requested, whatever, to have a meeting in person to resolve this entire situation and sit down and have a real come to Jesus, heart to heart conversation? Back and forth paperwork is nonsense. There's a reason that in so many areas of law, they have something called mediations. And in a mediation, which happens a lot, whether, it happens in civil suits, it happens in family court, in divorce matters. Cases get settled a lot in mediation. Why? Because both parties are there. You got party A, party B. Typically, they're in different rooms, and there's a mediator that goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And mediations can last all day, they can last a series of days. But a lot of times the deals get done. Now, there are times where the deals don't get done, but a lot of times they do. And yet they have not done this here. They're just throwing paperwork back and forth and then waiting 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or in some cases, 6 weeks for a response. That's not going to get anything done. Not if you really want to get something done, but yet you won't go on strike. So if you're not going to go on strike, then what are we waiting for? What are you doing? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, Brianna Stewart also agrees with Caitlin Clark's idea. I think that would be great for all of us to sit in a room. So who is all of us? Because a lot of your players are currently playing in other places. We're not talking about having a video call. We're talking about in the room. Your executive board should have been sitting in a room with all of the owners, not just a couple of them, all of the owners. This is not a meeting with Kathy Engelbert. This is a meeting with Kathy Engelbert and representatives from every single WNBA franchise so that you can get a deal done. Like, this is the silliest, most pathetic excuse for negotiation I've ever seen, because they're so far apart that you're not going to get there with written proposals that just get funneled back and forth every couple of weeks. The revenue share number is not going to change by the WNBA unless the players come with a reasonable number in the minds of the league. So if you're sitting here telling me you want 26%, 27%, and I've been sitting on 15 for months, and you're not anywhere near that number, well, I'm not inclined to budge. Because if I budge now, well, then you're going to end up getting more from me. That means I've now shown my can, you call my bluff, and now you know, because what's been called so far is the bluff of the players, because they have dropped their number down at least 5%. So now a number they said was non-negotiable. Well, it's been clearly negotiable, whereas the owner's number is not negotiable so far. They've given raises, they've given concessions, but they're not budging off of that 15% or 70% of net revenue. So if they come and say, "Oh, we'll go 17.5," well, now players say, "Oh, okay, we'll go 24. We'll go 23. We'll get up." Like, the only way I can see the ownership budging on that number is if the players say 20%, and the ownership come back and let's split the difference at 17.5. Split the difference at 17.5. That is the only way I can see that shit getting done. Otherwise, this is not going to get done funneling papers back and forth. It's not. And so Brianna Stewart says, "I think it would be great for us to sit in a room until we really get it done. If that means sitting in there for hours and hours at a time, let's do it. That's for the better of the player. While a situation like this has never happened before, there's a first time for everything." Yes, there's a first time for everything. And yet you have spent the last 3 months in Miami. The last 3 months in Miami at Unrivaled. And I don't remember if she actually made it to the meeting they supposedly had last month. I forget if she made it. I don't remember who. I know there was a joke of players that didn't make it and were on Zoom calls or what have you. She's not going to Puerto Rico with the U.S. team, but she will. She says she's going to New York, and she would be available for in-person meetings. Well, she says we want to get a deal done, but we want to have the season. We just need to find the right numbers to reflect it. They say if the deal gets done by Tuesday, they could have the expansion drafts between April 1st and April 6th. Free agent qualifying offers, including player franchise tags, will be sent out April 7th, 8th. They would have 3 days to negotiate with more than 80% of the players who are free agents. That's insane. 3 days to negotiate with 80% of the league. The signing period would take place from April 12th to 18th. Training camp would open the next day, and the season would start May 8th. At this point, I think it's going to be a hard sell to me, hard press sell to me to tell me that this league is not going to be at the very least delayed. It would be full. I thought 2 weeks ago they'd get a deal done, but then as we got closer, I was like, no, they're not going to get a deal done. And now I definitely don't believe they get a deal done because they're not negotiating in the way people who want to get a deal done would negotiate. They're not sitting in that room. Don't sit here on March 10th or March 9th and say, if we need to sit in the room for hours, well, why didn't you do that last week? Why didn't the day after you finished your unrivaled basketball season, did you not get your ass back to New York and get in the room for a meeting and sit there all day long? It doesn't make sense. If you want to get a deal done, you find a way to get a deal done. I'm not sitting here saying you should bend over and take whatever the owners give you and offer and like it. I'm not even saying that. And I do have my opinions. I think that getting a 4.56 X raise is pretty significant. I think most people would agree with that for basically what amounts to a 4.5-month basketball season. I think getting all these concessions of housing, etc., pretty significant because most people who have jobs pay their mortgages, pay their rent, all that stuff. It's not included in their job package. So you want to get a deal done? Then get your ass into New York and go sit at the table. You already questioned your executive director. You don't trust her. If you don't trust her, you should have fired her and everybody on that staff, since you clearly don't trust them. So what exactly are we doing? What is the end all be all? The goal is to play, right? If the goal is to play, shit or get off the pot. Go get your ass in front of the ownership, demand a meeting, because right now, it's March 10th. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. This is not going to get done today. I mean, it would be otherworldly miraculous if something happened today. So at the very least, this league will be the season start will be delayed at least by a day. And my guess, it'll be more than that. My guess at this point is we would be looking probably at a June's first week of June start date, because I do think they'll get a deal done eventually this month. But clearly it won't be done today unless some miracle of God happens, because they have chosen, particularly from the player perspective, to not truly negotiate in a way that gets a deal done. You're sitting here just flip-flopping paperwork. The owners can sacrifice. The players don't have that luxury. The players don't have the luxury of losing money. And eventually what happens is player membership fractures because a large majority of the players don't make a lot of money, and they need the money to survive. They need their money to pay bills. And while some of them played in Unrivaled and some of them played in Athletes Unlimited and got whatever, how long will that last? How long will that money last them? Because WNBA players are looking more and more like NBA players, wearing designer shit everywhere. Jewelry, iced out, all kinds of flying everywhere, acting like they got unlimited, endless bank accounts when they don't. So they're living that high and mighty life and so forth. And there's only a handful of them that have the type of bread to live that type of lifestyle. Most of them are living check to check. But hey, y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.